I thank you very much and wish us all a great day. Yeah, so this is another good opportunity for me where we are with the speaker, the spokesperson from Ministry of Defense and RDF, who is going to share with us, served in even other different capacities and staff duties. Spokesperson, Brigadier General Ronald Rugwivanga, you are welcome.
Thank you. The leadership of the forum, Cornerstone community and other leaders, youth leaders here present, the youth from different academic institutions. I'm told you're about 35 universities. Wow, that's big. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm Brigadier General Ronald Rugwivanga, and as he says, I'm the defense spokesperson. I speak on behalf of the Ministry of Defense and the Rwanda Defense Force. So I'm greatly honored to have the opportunity to talk to the youth about this very important subject about leadership. It is a unique opportunity to share experiences from the military domain about the topic today, hoping that this will guide youth as tomorrow's organizational leaders in different fields. I know this morning you went through a number of values in leadership, and I believe you've mentioned a couple of them that actually are very common in the military and very important. They are the values that we espouse, and our profession is very delicate in the sense that we give orders to young men and women to go to war. To do that, you must have a number of set of values, important values, to achieve the mission of protecting your nation from threats from within and from without. So it is very important that I share our perspective of the values of leadership, in leadership. So the topic cannot be better phrased. Leading with values. A heroic compass to leadership effectiveness and positive impact. Leadership is not just about the positions we hold in our day-to-day activities. It is more about principles that guide our actions. A good leader will be evaluated based on those principles and how he or she executes them. In a world where success is often measured by short-term gains, true leadership stands out when it is anchored on some core values such as integrity, which I heard you mentioning, empathy, so there is some emotional intelligence involved there. Then we have courage, the ability to do things that appear to be difficult with zeal and enthusiasm. And then accountability, to be able to answer for everything that you do, whether positive or negative. You must stand to answer, because we have to have results in whatever you do. And we must work towards improving ourselves every day. So accountability is very key. So leading with values is not merely a moral choice. It is actually a strategic advantage in the sense that when you lead with values, you will have positive dividends. From the results, if it's an organization, business or otherwise, you'll have profit. If it is a military institution, you'll have military success, because you will have demonstrated certain elements that will inspire the subordinates to perform acts, seemingly difficult acts, in times of need. Okay, so whether business, government, or the military, values are very key in achieving the overall objective. So this applies to all institutions. So the president of Rwanda stated on July 6th in an interview with the media, he said, and I quote, "We build the future by compromising. We cannot build the future by compromising on the values that define us," end of quote. Leadership is not just about authority. It is about principled decision making. Values in the military, such as integrity, selfless service, accountability, and patriotism, are not just abstract ideas. They are the foundation for effective and trusted leadership. In order for your subordinates to trust you, they must see integrity. They must see courage. They must see valor. They must see principles in your behavior. Then they will be ready to do war on your behalf. So leadership, indeed, is not just about achieving results, but about how those results are achieved. Now, the Rwanda Defense Force exemplifies values-based leadership in action that is hinged on 3 critical pillars. 1, discipline. 2, unity, because divisiveness cannot give you good results. 3, respect for humanity. If your role is to protect people, and then you select who to protect in a spectrum of different ethnicities, different communities, you lose the value of being a soldier, a true soldier. So you have to have respect for humanity in general. So those are the basic tenets, the pillars on which all our values are anchored upon. So these pillars have guided the Rwanda Patriotic Front and Army from the ashes of genocide into a nation of hope, dignity, and growth. If you pick the 3 pillars and assess them deeply, you realize that for us to achieve growth, for instance, we had to unite everybody, irrespective of your ethnicity, religious background. Actually, there are some clans which used to be given credence, like in some countries. Clans are no longer talked about when it comes to leadership or responsibilities. It's about meritocracy, not aristocracy. I don't know if you know the difference. The ability to do things rather than being born to do things. Okay? So what does that tell us? It tells us that we have to work towards being efficient. And to be efficient, you have to have those 3 pillars: unity, discipline, and respect for humanity. Very key. If you don't have those 3, then all these values we are talking about will not have a good foundation from which they can grow. Okay? So, in other words, values act as a moral compass that guides leaders in positions to make principled decisions, especially during crisis and complex challenges. Effective leadership is measured by both performance outcomes. For businesses, I talked about profit. For us, it's the ability to defeat the enemy in battle. For government, we're talking about efficient governance, doing the right thing, corruption-free, government. Do not give jobs according to who, ethnic groups or family connections, rather on merit. Okay? That creates efficiency, organizational efficiency. Because I will pick you because you're capable, not because I know your mother or father. Once you do that, you will destroy an institution from the grassroots. Many inefficient organizations in the world are built on these tenets, where efficiency is built on strong values. So the word integrity, for instance, I'll talk about six values mainly in this discussion. The word integrity is a very important value. I heard you talking about it here as I came in. A person with integrity is dependable and trustworthy. People can rely on them to keep promises. And this will automatically translate into another important value, which is loyalty. See, when I can trust you with my life, I will be loyal to you or to the institution that made you who you are, a leader. Okay? So integrity also requires consistency and courage. So these values are interconnected. The second value is courage, making tough decisions and standing firm on specific principles, even when they are unpopular amongst your friends, partners, and sometimes it's not even convenient for you, but you'll go and do the right thing, irrespective of whether it is popular amongst your peers. Okay? For example, when you lead soldiers into battle, be ready to go ahead if you want them to be fearless. But if you just send them in harm's way and then you coil back, then they will not perform the duties that you require them to do as effectively as they would have if you led them by example. That is courage. That influences others. Okay? So courage is key. The third is empathy. Understanding and valuing people's perspectives is very important if you want to build an efficient organization. Now, in every organization, a leader must be able to exploit the strengths of people rather than their weaknesses, rather than emphasize on weaknesses. Today, emotional intelligence is more important actually than this other intelligence that we talk about every day, because you will get the best out of people if you listen to them and if you show empathy. It should not be mistaken for weakness, especially in the military. Empathy should not be mistaken for weakness. Understanding your subordinates' problems and trying to solve them will make them better fighters, actually. You can turn a sheep into a lion just by having empathy. So do not think that empathy belongs to the weak or to the civil world. We have empathy in the army. It's very important because you will influence people to do powerful things. Even the seemingly weak can be trained psychologically, mentally, and physically to do very powerful things. But empathy is very key. Okay? The fourth is accountability. You must own outcomes and encourage responsibility within teams. when a leader blames subordinates for organization of mistakes, when he instructed them to do these things that led to the mistakes and runs away from the responsibility. I think you know that. It happens quite a lot in some organizations where you actually blame your subordinate for the mistakes in which you instructed them. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a very big weakness. You must be accountable to your actions, to your decisions, and then seek to improve yourself moving forward. Learn from your mistakes. And that's what accountability is all about. Our country at least has learned a lot from that. We have built a system that holds people accountable for their actions, sometimes to the discomfort of many who may want to call our system dictatorial. Because you see, accountability requires action, taking action. If we say you have to have a clean city, and then we hold you accountable if it's not clean, and then someone calls it benevolent dictatorship, said, these people dictate. They say they want a clean city and the next day it is clean. They are dictatorial. So you want people to be free, to dress in torn clothes, to have houses that leak, that will eventually actually fall on you and kill you, to have roads that have massive potholes, to have slums. By the way, there was a very big strike when some slum dwellers in Nyarutarama wanted to remain in those slum dwellings, even when they could be given better homes in Batsinda. Is it Batsinda? They nearly refused, preferring to go in makeshift houses. If that's the kind of dictatorship, ladies and gentlemen, that we're accused of, so be it. Because that so we have a responsibility to get things done despite criticism, as long as the things are right. It is only bad if you're doing bad things to people. Okay? Humility and servant leadership. Putting the needs of the team and organization above personal interests. Very important. Humility, especially in the military, is often mistaken for weakness as well. When you are simple, when you are kind, when you are compassionate, they say, he's very weak. Because they want you to show the toughness of a soldier. No, but you don't have to be rude. You don't have to be extremely aggressive in order to demonstrate that you are tough. It is actually weak to depend on such a behavior or such a demeanor for you to be able to effect certain decisions. If you have to use force, then you are weak. You should be able to influence people without force. So humility is very key in the military and in civil life. I believe actually in civil life, it hasn't been given the, I don't know if you talked about it today. You did? Oh, perfect. It's something that people often take for granted. You can have things done effectively with humility and servant leadership. We are here to serve people. Soldiers serve communities. We build roads, we build hospitals, we are supposed to take you, find you on the road and take you to hospital if need be. We are not meant to stay in the barracks. So ours is servant leadership. Okay? And so, We must remove those heavy shoulders of ours, and come down to the people. That kind of language, it doesn't work. At least we have tried not to give it credence in our army and in our governance institutions. We must use power wisely and with humility if we want to keep it. Otherwise, you lose it. Okay? The sixth, and very important for you, is innovation and vision. We must balance core values with adaptability to change and forward thinking. See, there is a problem in institutions where people don't want change. If something worked in the past, then it must continue working. Not necessarily. You can make it better. Okay? It also works in the army. The wars that we fought previously, today we are fighting different wars. More technological, smart wars. It's not about brute force. It's not about attrition. It's about maneuver. It's about effectiveness in targeting your enemy rather than just brute force. So today, you need to be smart in whatever you do. So in other words, innovation is key. Everywhere. Governance. That's why we have IT-based structures. We have removed the bureaucracies of taking lines, and you are now getting things on your phone. Isn't it? That is innovation. Irembo. That reduces corruption because you are not going to bribe an official to get certain documents. Okay? It leads to efficiency in service delivery because you can set up a business in minutes. And you can lose it also in minutes if you do not meet the obligations that you are required, to have or to produce. So, values-driven initiatives create good performance because teams perform better under leaders who embody strong values. You'll have trust from your subordinates because they will believe that whatever you do is in their best interests. It is in the collective interest. The culture of integrity and respect reduces conflicts and fosters transparent communication, leading to faster problem solving and innovation. So that's the first part of my presentation. The second part of this discussion will focus on the heroic dimension, that is courage in action. So a heroic leader is one who acts with purpose, resilience, and moral courage to create lasting positive change. Heroic leadership is not about being flawless. No, you can have weaknesses. But it's about consistency and choosing to lead with values even under pressure. You can make mistakes. Actually, in Kinyarwanda we have a saying, hakosa wakoze. So actually, ukora ni ukos. So if you don't want to perform roles, then probably you'll have no mistakes. But if you work well and often, just be ready for some errors here and there. And it is through your mistakes that you will actually improve. That's why they tell you many a successful businessman will fall many more times before they rise. So consistency is key. So heroic leadership is not about being flawless, as I mentioned, but about consistency. Okay? Consistency. The President of the Republic of Rwanda said this about heroes. Being a hero means being able to sacrifice for others. It means standing firm for what is right. There are very few people who stand firm when it comes to what is right. That's a basic principle. Heroes are not defined by titles, but by selfless action and moral courage. The courage to tell people this is wrong. And you don't care about the consequences. So the RDF's actions espouse specific values. For instance, during floods in this country, we are told, it's one of our constitutional roles, we are told to save people who are caught up in floods. You saw what happened in Texas the other day. Such floods can take so many people. But the army, landslides and floods are places where you will test the willingness of a soldier to put himself in harm's way in order to save people. The second is COVID-19. The ambulances, the responses, we had a command center, and we knew the risks involved. Even nurses and doctors have a noble role to play in such situations. That's where you test character. Some will change professions for that period of time in order to escape the risk of getting infected with COVID-19. These are the moments when you will test character. Why would you chicken away from the enemy when you chose to be a soldier? Why would you run away from COVID-19 just to save your head when you chose to be a doctor? Does it make sense? It doesn't. So, heroism is about being principled, being ready to take risks when the need arises. So our actions abroad, in Cabo Delgado, in Central African Republic, South Sudan, and elsewhere, when called upon by our allies and friendly nations, also speak about that special thing that we hold so dear to us, the courage to put our lives at risk in pursuit of the objective of protecting civilians. Over 3,000 people were killed in Cabo Delgado from 2017 to 2021. The whole continent sat in silence. The RDF, with 1,000 troops, was able to halt those killings. Not because they are related to us, what I was talking about, ethnicities, but respect for humanity. Very important. So journalists tend to ask questions whenever we meet. I said, but what is in it? What is in it for Rwanda? You know, that's a common question. That's the same question they were probably asking in 1994. What is in it for us? When people are being slaughtered. Because they don't see, it doesn't make sense to them to go and rescue people being slaughtered every day. Actually, when we went there in July 2021 and halted the killings in 1 month, SADC followed a month later after the killings subsided, stopped. And they went there and sat for a few minutes and a few weeks and months, and then they said, we are tired. They left. They left before us. We took over where they were, and we are still there. And now we are actually building capacity. We are building capacity of the local forces so that when we leave, it will be a flawless transition from us to them. So ladies and gentlemen, that takes courage, and we had to lead by example. So the values that we espouse had to be demonstrated in the theater. Okay? You should draw inspiration from these stories in your different walks of life, you must understand that the positive impact of your actions extend beyond your family to a bigger organization, to the nation. When you demonstrate the respect for humanity, then you will be trusted. And that is why the RDF today is the most trusted institution in the country. I think because we have espoused certain values and we hold people accountable whenever they do something wrong. And let me tell you also, these actions that I'm talking about will translate even in theater when dealing with the enemy. I can tell you, it is not because we are technologically more advanced than the adversary. No, we are not. But when you're doing the right thing, you will succeed in battle. And that is why when millions of people are being slaughtered, and people think that's a base from which you would expect to have support, even when you're a small group, you can still succeed to stop the killers. Because you have the will to fight, the cause for which you're fighting. And you will definitely defeat the adversary in any theater. I don't know whether that sounds biblical, because when you're doing the right thing, then you're probably supported by the spiritual powers. If that is so, then so be it. But I can tell you, I have failed to see a scenario where right was defeated by wrong. None. Okay? But all this requires continuous self-reflection. Because even where we operate, we cannot be 100% problem-free, mistake-free. Individuals can make mistakes, but I can assure you that the RDF as an institution will not. It will not. It will not. The real test of our values has come through times of crisis, both at home and abroad. And there is no moral ambiguity about our actions. They speak for themselves. We were called by the President of Central African Republic when his government, by the way, was threatened by a group, a former president, who felt he should come back to power using force to topple a legitimately elected government. So he called upon our country, said, please help. And we sent battle groups. And we managed to halt the advance of this CPC, Coalition for Patriotic Change, a rebel group that was, attacking the city of Bangui in the Central African Republic. So our soldiers went there and they halted. And now the legitimate government is still in place. It is now the 5th year. So leadership that is anchored on values inspires loyalty, but most importantly, resilience. It will continue existing with strength year in, year out. Values-based leadership creates opportunities for sustainable success, as short-term gains are never prioritized over long-term trust. Yes, you need long-term trust. Leading with values in time of crisis is the real test of strength. During the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, it was values-led operations or values-led actions that brought justice, hope, and dignity. In a war situation like that, you must make very important decisions. Leaders are given the choice whether to continue and fight the enemy but also collectively punish whoever was involved or suspected to be involved in the genocide. But we chose a different path. We chose a path of reconciliation, a path of unity, and a path of not allowing people to revenge, because that path spirals into endless conflict. So these are tough decisions that leaders have to make. And it has very strong dividends in the end. I can tell you, whoever starts to criticize a system for its actions will sit back and say, wait a minute, was I any better? You just need to focus on the strengths and build them. And then a few wrong apples who may have done some mistakes can be dealt with. Actually, for me, I always tell people that it would have been normal for people to behave different from what happened. It would have been very normal. People would have actually gone on rampage. If I have an AK-47, my family has been killed, why wouldn't I turn it to anybody who I suspect? But if we choose not to do that, then it is that strength of character that we should be giving credit to. Okay? So it is important for the youth, therefore, to note these national values that I'm going to mention, which our country has adopted. Rwanda's transformation is not accidental. It is a result of visionary leadership rooted on national values. 1, unity. 2, resilience. 3, self-reliance. From building schools and health centers for everybody, to investing in infrastructure for everybody, the RDF has demonstrated that leadership is about creating better lives for everybody. Not for a specific group, which was the case before. Okay? So building a culture of values-driven leadership is anchored on discipline, selfless service, and protecting human beings. Youth leaders must adopt this approach and lead with dignity, not ego. Influence with service, not noise. This Gen Z thing, if you bring it here, then it just destroys everything. Do what is right, not what is easy. End of quote by our president during Youth Connect in 2018. Standing for values isn't always popular. Leaders often face criticism and pressure. But true leaders have the courage to walk alone when necessary and the wisdom to stay rooted in what is right. Every Rwandan has the responsibility to lead with values because our country's future depends on these values. The youth must do self-reflection and ask themselves the following questions. 1, what values guide your decisions today? 2, are your choices aligned with your principles? Do you have any principles? Kirazira. Kirazira gukora iki? Ni byinshi cyane. You have to look at that list of ibizira. Ibyo bazira. Courage, stand firm for what is right. Humility, serve others before self. Purpose, lead with clarity and national pride. Then we have about 3 or 4 critical factors that I want to present to you to sum up. 1 is health. It is useless for you to work so hard and then not care about your personal health. It is useless. Lead a lifestyle of discipline. Why would you drink yourself silly? Destroy your liver, your kidneys, and then in your 60s, you'll be the first to go. Why? Why can't you drink in moderation? Spend more time doing positive things. Attitude. Foster positivity, responsibility, and a growth mindset. Think about if people your age had sat back as refugees and did not take up arms, where would Rwanda be? They were your age, by the way, from our president who was in his early 30s, maybe slightly older than you now, many of you. Late Fred was 32, 33. The commanders you see who are now in their 50s, including our CDS, he was probably around 29 or 28, something like that. And these are people commanding units. Actually, I may have given him a very, he was early 20s, because now he's probably in his 50s. So these people did things at that age. Can we do the same today? We can. Okay? So age is just a number. You can do so many things. Age is just a number, it's not just for love. It's also for purpose and for strength. Okay? You can do so much at a tender age. Actually, you are more energetic. You can achieve much more. Patriotism, love your country, not just in words, but in daily action. Because many a country today that has succeeded and become first class comes primarily from patriotism. People invest in their country instead of choosing to travel abroad in often very difficult circumstances to go and call yourself an American or British, or when you can build your country and be proud to be a Rwandan. Not that it is wrong to go and gain knowledge. Don't get me wrong. You can go study, get a degree, get a PhD from there, even work for a few years. But at the end of the day, you can come and invest in your country and make sure that your country has the skills that you have got from those countries. I think the Indians do that quite a lot. They send about 500 people to study medicine, and every year deliberately to go and study advanced medicine in Germany, in the US. And then they come back and you Africans will rush there for treatment. That is true. You rush there for treatment. You say, we have a specialist Indian somewhere. But you can do the same here if you love your country. Okay? So it again connects to productivity and innovation. All these are interconnected. You can only be productive and innovative if you love your country. Okay? Actually, I studied with a gentleman who was the best in the country at the time, because I studied in Uganda. And he was called, actually he had a name, same name as the former head of state. He was called Habyarimana. And the gentleman got A's throughout. He went to the US immediately, got a scholarship. He studied a number of things. I think he's in Georgetown University. You can Google him. Very brilliant. And he's now, all his life, he's been passing on knowledge in the US. Brilliant young man. So I asked myself, why wouldn't he have probably come and established something here, But sometimes it's because of the conditions on the ground, and who knows. But he could have done all that and still come home. I will talk to him one day to come back home. So preserving national achievements requires commitment, ownership, and discipline. Let these three principles shape your leadership journey. Every Rwandan, especially the youth, has a sacred duty to lead with values. Let us honor our nation by upholding good personal behavior, demonstrate love for country, patriotism, preserve unity. Those are the pillars on which we can advance other values. Together we can build a resilient and prosperous, dignified nation. Effective leadership in all spheres of life is anchored on fundamental values that lead to good results. And with all that, our nation can prosper. So with those few remarks, I thank you for your rapt attention. And if there are any questions, I'm ready to take them up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'm here by the names of Shibima and Sylvie. I'm coming from Alpingoma College. I have two questions to ask you. The first one, I'm asking myself, how can a young person lead effectively, even without a formal leadership title or position? The second one states that, what one leadership mistake you have seen often among young people, and how we can avoid it? Thank you, sir.
No, it should start from your own character, your own behavior. Leaders, even in your own institutions today, where you are currently. Leadership is not about positions. You can lead people by doing the right thing. And then actually, you become a leader based on those principles and values that you espouse as an individual. So you don't have to have a leadership. We didn't all start from where we are, no. We started from scratch, as a soldier. Then they say, you can lead a section. Oh yes, then a platoon, then a company, then until you lead the whole army. You see? So leadership is gradually developed, and usually you get people who fit the role. If you are good with people, for instance, emotional intelligence, maybe you will be made a human resource manager at some point because you are very good with people. If you are very good with machines, you'll become an IT manager. You see? So people can look at the qualities that you have and, but of course these qualities also have to be backed by values. So there's a difference between qualities, strength, and values. You talked about leadership mistakes. That's the second part of your question. What leadership mistakes, common leadership mistakes, have I seen that are very dangerous, and how do I avoid them? The first and most important, which is related to the unity I was talking about, is divisive leadership. It is the worst. People will not trust you if in the core principles that you hold, you are divisive. If you look at someone for who he is and not what he's bringing on the table, you are divisive. If you select people to do specific jobs because they are of the same clan, you are divisive. You see? And you cannot build an efficient system if you have such behavior. So that's the first mistake that people can do. Once you see that, that is toxic leadership. And that is bound to fail. How do you deal with that? Simple. Remove that person from that responsibility before he spoils the rest. And then take him for either to a mental institution or to a a training institution, two things. Because some of those people are really, they have been spoiled. So you need to help them. But that is the biggest mistake, and the solution is simply to deal with such individuals. Remove them from the system before they spoil others.
Thank you, General. My name is Jean-Baptiste Manuel Chisa from the Adventist University of Central Africa. And mine is a word of thanks because you have inspired me, you have helped me understand clearly the saying which was, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way, by Maxwell John. And I can try to break it down based on what you said, the case study you gave of Cabo Delgado, where the RDF army are doing wonders. When he said knows the way, he wanted to mean that they have a vision, and of course they know, they have the knowledge of how they are going to do it, and of course there is the direction. And by going the way, it means that they did by example. What you do in Cabo Delgado, you are setting an example, and you have put it clear that you are not only there to save lives, but you are also building capacity so that in the future they can do it on their own. And by showing the way, it means they inspire others and to follow the same path. Now, maybe asking a question, do you think we will live to see the Africa where all these things or leaders are living true to this statement to this saying by John Maxwell, where a good leader is defined by these three characteristics? Thank you so much.
I think, yeah, we will live. We will live to see an Africa that will achieve these values, value-driven leadership. Of course, by setting an example, because we have set examples in different countries. Tomorrow, we might need them. And it's only when you break these barriers and help support communities that are not directly linked to you that people realize that a united Africa is possible. So I'm just giving you hope that do not judge yourselves. You will build a very strong, united nation. That will be difficult to defeat. But that is only if we live by the principles that we have decided to adopt lately.
My name is Teresi Nyinagabimana. I'm coming from University of Uganda, Huye campus. I'm the Dean of Students. Thank you very much, General, for the presentation. And I have one question. As you know, our youth are facing the challenges of external pressures like money, popularity, politics, and so on. With the team that we have, leading with values, and about your presentation, asking the question, how can youth ensure that their values remain consistent in the face of these external pressures? Thank you very much.
Leading by example is a critical aspect of it. If you want to influence the youth to be like their predecessors, then you have to set the tone. You have to set examples. So currently, at least in our realm, in the army, we have tried to ensure that there is a flawless transition from people who fought the liberation war to the young men and women now fighting the battles and wars in these other countries. These young men, your age, are the ones doing everything. We are simply providing guidance. We are mentoring. So mentorship is key. And if you fail to take the opportunity of mentorship or mentoring, then the product will not be as effective. But I'm glad that it's not just in the army, even in governance. Corruption-free society, IT-based service delivery, all that is a way of making the system more efficient with less corruption. So it's not just in the military. We are leading by example in all spheres of governance and the private sector. So yeah, there is hope. There is hope for that transition.
Okay, you're okay.
Thank you very much. I'm going to Mzengwa Andrew. I'm the Guild President of the University of Rwanda, Huye campus. This is not a question. Mine is just appreciation for the time. My first appreciation goes to the African Youth Leadership Forum for taking this initiative and think of inviting us to be here. Another thing, special thanks goes to our guest of honor. They had a lot to do, but taking this time to come here will help us to overcome the statement that I'm going to make, which is was made by Mike, called where he quoted that hard times create strong men creates good time. As we know, the harsh situation that we are existing in Rwanda, this is the one that created strong men who are leading us today. Then, good times creates weak men. Most of the times you find that our generations, if we don't get people who come to give us like the way we should go, we'll find ourselves being weak men who will make or who will create, again, hard times. I want to appreciate for taking your time and to invest your time in us to be or to know the right way to go. It was my appreciation, yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the compliments. Indeed, hard times have created strong people. And I believe you will emulate that and continue. Thank you very much.
I would like to ask you, how can you concile those principles of love, friendship, which give us the spirit of familyhood and friendship? How can you concile them with African military groups and give us the view or the comment about future United Nations of Africa? How can you give us the future of Africa and their different military groups, be the military ministries or be what and what, that we as AYF want to see United Africa, and that values once achieved.
We have already started taking baby steps in that direction by, for instance, our own defense forces being out there, carrying out peacekeeping operations in different countries on the continent. Bilateral, I think that's more like friendship. Bilateral engagements with the Central African Republic and Mozambique. And I think you can combine love and friendship there, because that is a relationship. We have a bond that we have developed. And then, of course, we also have these regional bodies, which are small relationships with the neighbors. And then we have the African Union. But the ones that are effective are mainly the regional initiatives that we have undertaken. But just to solidify that engagement that we have with these three countries, we are the second largest force contributing country in UN peacekeeping. So we have played our part in living up to at least the first two, actually the rest, even the rest: love, friendship, integrity, and excellence. Excellence, wherever we perform, at least whenever we are about to leave, there is always a very big issue about why we are leaving. So that's a sign of excellence. And I think even integrity, because when people want you to leave, that means you did not behave well while you were serving. So I think we have tried to live by those values wherever we deploy. And just to give you a specific picture of what we do, we not only protect people, we even carry out medical outreach programs to treat people sick with different ailments in all these deployments. We build schools, hospitals, maternity wards. We haven't built a hospital, but we do specific actions in those countries. So that also solidifies those values that we're talking about.
We always see you, when I see you, the army, during the recruitment, and you pass announcements. And sometimes we meet with you. When I say you, I meet the army team in the university careers. But can't you really make a plan of consistent visiting the universities and teaching the young people about the patriotism? I have been seeing you for many years explaining how the war started and all that. And we don't really think that it's good for us just see you once in a while and then you get lost and for being busy with other activities we know. But you can set up a team. We as deans, then we make plans for you that is every semester, every year, you can be able to pass these young people. I think that way they will capture this volunteer work. Instead of thinking that now I have senior 6, now I'm graduating, I need to start for money. And I know you people, you worked hard, no payment. Let me mix up Kinyarwanda. Abakoraga cyane bahembwaga ibigori n'imvungure mu gihe intambara ikirangira kandi ari abayobozi ari abaminisitiri. Mudufashije rero nyakubahwa muyobozi, hakabaho campaign yo kwigisha indangagaciro, yo kwigisha ubwitange, gukunda igihugu, bica muri kaminuza cyane, byazatuma abanyeshuri bacu bikunda. Reka mubwire n'iki nyisorezeho, naga abanyeshuri bacu bo muri kaminuza bifuza kujya mu gisirikare kubera yuko bafite patriotic, I'm sorry to say to discourage. Benshi uyu munsi barongo ije mu gisirikare utangira uhembwa, ujya kurangiza gukora degree kuri konti yawe yaruzuye amafaranga. So reka nigire mu gisirikare ko nzajya kurangiza kuri ndi umusirikare mukuru kandi mfite konti yuzuye amafaranga. Urumva iyo myumvire rero naga ariyo myumvire mu mwatangiranye cyangwa abakuru bacu batangiranye. Turabasaba kugira ngo habeho ubukangurambaga buhoraho muri za kaminuza ko hari urubyiruko rw'ejo hazaza bamenye ko kujya mu gisirikare ko igihugu atari ugusoza hari icyo ufite ahubwo ari ugusoza witangira igihugu. Murakoze.
We need to consistently visit universities, but I want to inform you that the largest number of recruits that we have are actually before university. We recruit into university. We have our own university now, so we do the recruitment actually before that. But there is also, of course, the graduates also, who we also encourage to join, especially with the reserve force. So yeah, we will definitely put your proposal into action. Every country, by the way, every country, including the US and all these, there is always the motivation to join the army for the sake of having a career. It's a military career. So it's not necessarily the money. Yeah, the money is there, yes, but people want to have job security. Because in the army you're assured of a job. You are assured of military health insurance for the rest of your life. You are assured of a very good bank where you can, get low interest loans. You are assured of a very good army shop where you can buy things cheaply. So there is some degree of security. It may not be as highly paying as many of these business organizations and NGOs and stuff like that, but there is job security. Except if we dismiss you for bad behavior. That's when you can have job insecurity caused by you. Okay? So yeah, I hope I've answered your question. So we are ready to do that for the sake of reserve force, but when we are recruiting, we recruit from the younger ones who are in secondary school, except for the reservists. who we can always recruit from higher level. Yeah. So thank you very much.